So here's Kaz at the Carolina International, and we are in the 4-star class. So the bell has rung, and you'll see I'll pick up the left lead. I like the left lead for him because that's a little bit his stronger lead, especially coming into a canter halt. He just seems to hold it a little bit better. You'll see here I kind of decided to do another circle just to get his attention and to try to get him really on my aids. Because coming down the center line, you really want to start off with a bang, being nice and straight. One thing I really have to work on is him kind of coming up and out with his nose. He likes to sometimes tuck and get a little bit behind. And coming into the halt. And then going off into the trot, you see he kind of wiggles a little bit, so I lost some points there. And now going into my shoulder in for Kaz, the shoulder ins and the half passes, that trot lateral work are still kind of like his weaknesses. But for me, I'm really going for rideability and relaxation in the test, so I'm not really going to kind of push for the flash yet. I'm working on just trying to get him to do it correctly, and then I can eventually add kind of the ounce per bounce per se. Coming into our halt here, you can see he's just a little bit behind, and then he gets up vertical. And he got just a little bit stuck behind because that right hind foot was a little bit forward and not square. But again, I'm pretty happy with how he's being on my aids, especially for him, because he can get a little sensitive about the other horse in the ring because he can be pretty horse shy sometimes. But so far so good. Coming into our half pass right. I'm just going to take the time to try to position him, but you see I can kind of get him to go, and then I lose a little bit. So for my half passes, I really need to have more crossover, more bend through the rib cage. And then down into our walk transition. And it's just about building the strength for him, really. But he's feeling really good in the walk here. I feel like I can really push him into it, and I don't have any tension, so that's a really nice feeling. He's really good for the extended walk. You want them to kind of take your hand out. You don't want to see a loop in the rein for the extended walk. You still want to have contact, but the nose is supposed to be out, the neck is long, and you want to have a really nice over track. And then I'm going to collect him up. And again, this is something I like to practice a lot in my work, so my horses don't anticipate or jig. He's staying on the aids here for the walk, and then we're going to go into the canter. And I was really pleased with that transition for him. But for this test now, the change comes up really quick. And the right to left is a bit his weaker lead. So there the change was together behind. We want the hind leg and the front leg to go at the same time. And then we go into our half pass. So those are getting better. And now I'm really going to go for my extended canter. He's feeling really good. Try to really get those points. I got a 9 from one of the judges, so I was really glad that I was able to do that, but I was really pleased with how well he came back and engaged. So now preparing for the change to the left. This is a stronger lead, and I get a really nice change there. And then the half pass comes up pretty quickly, but he's getting a lot more supple for at least the right half pass. And again, these can always be better, and always things that we're really working on. Really working on changing that balance for him, so he wants to rock back on the hind leg and come up through the wither. And now for our extended trot. He's really coming up and through, which I was really pleased. And then coming down the center line for our final halt. And overall, I was really pleased with the consistency of the test and his rideability. We ended up scoring a 32.4 and actually scored a 70% from one of the judges. So I was really pleased. I feel like we're improving, but we have a lot more to gain out of that dressage test for sure. So now moving on to the show jump. Now, interestingly for Kaz, show jumping is a really strong phase for him, but he was pretty keyed up because the warm-up was next to the cross country, and you can see there are cross country jumps in this ring. So he was a bit keen and a bit strong in the warm-up. So coming to the first fence here, we get a good shot. Now I had planned for this line to do 9 strides, but he kind of ate that up in 8, and then this was a snug 4, but he responded well to that. But you'll see here he kind of is taking the bit a little bit, and I'm working it here. Now I see the good distance to the triple, and then I land and I press to go up the hill, but we just got in too close and unfortunately had that rail down. And so there in my mind I thought, okay, he's really moving forward. I need to just make sure I can hold him off of the fences a little bit. He's good through the triple here. And then coming to this vertical, we had an option here, but I chose to do the outside because I knew I could still do the inside turn. Again, he's just feeling a bit stronger in my hand. And then going to the Swedish, he really jumps around that nicely. Now working our way to the last line here. I want to make sure I get in a nice shot. He jumps really good over the oxter, and then coming down to the last, a nice forward stride, and he jumps that beautifully. So again, a little disappointing, but overall kept us in 18th. And now on to cross country. I had a plan to really try to be quick and be close to the time. So this was fence 9 heading to fence 10, and you'll see here I am trying to get him to come back, and he's just blatantly kind of saying no. And so I'm like, oh dear, this is going to change things a little bit because I don't quite have that reaction that I want when I need him to sit back and change the balance. So coming to this overhead frame jump, he jumps up beautifully. And then after, you'll see I'll come through it this way, we're heading to the coffin. And I really have to kind of talk to him here to get him to really sit back because he just wants to motor on, kind of on his head a little bit, and he's pulling me forward. But I should have really sat down and anchored myself a little bit more. But I get him in a good canter. He jumps through the coffin, and then we have this really steep angle, and he really did that really nicely. And now coming to this water, we come in and I just get pitched forward, and he's such a good boy here because we were off our line, and then he was so good to kind of keep going and get on that. But part of that was just because I didn't quite have the accuracy of the control that I wanted coming into the water, but I still don't know why I kind of collapsed. It just felt like my body just couldn't hold it. So now coming towards the Normandy bank, and I really just took the gas off the pedal so I could manage our balance and make sure to get the jumps done safely, because that's the number one thing, is I want to have a clean round first and go for time second. So he did the Normandy bank beautifully. Really good there. And coming around to this final combination, which was the last big water, and you'll see we are coming to a turn to a big ditch and wall coming up here soon. And he jumps this very easily, very out of stride, and he's such a powerful horse and such a scopy jumper. Once I can really get him to dial in and get just a little bit softer so we can go faster, he's really going to be competitive. But he does this combination really beautifully, and we finished up with some time faults and finishing in 25th place.